Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first Women in Engineering live chat. My name is Natalie and I'm a junior majoring in civil engineering building science. We have three great alumni here from Viterbi who are here to answer your questions. Once again, you can ask questions using the form which is right below this live chat box, and we'll be going through your questions that way. So we'll start off with introductions. So Laura Lee, why don't you start us off?
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Lee Quinn. I studied biomedical mechanical engineering and graduated in 2008. While at USC, I was involved in the Society of Women Engineers. I was in a social sorority. I was involved in student government and a mentoring program called Women and Youth Supporting Each Other. Since I've graduated, I've been in management consulting and focusing on Salesforce integrations. Looking forward to answering all of your questions.
Okay, thank you. Krupa, why don't you go next?
Hi everyone, my name is Krupa Savalia, and when I was at USC, I majored in biomedical engineering with an emphasis in biochemical engineering. I graduated in 2006. Which was quite a while ago. But since then, I took some time off to work at a rehabilitation center doing some research with biomechanics and biomedical engineering devices. And since then, I've joined an MD-PhD program at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, and I'm currently halfway through my program. So if any of you are pre-meds out there, have questions about taking, your engineering degree and going on to grad school, I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. So welcome.
Okay, thanks. And now, Kelly, why don't you go?
I'm Kelly Mccullen. I was a chemical engineer with a petroleum engineering emphasis, and I graduated in 2006 like Krupa. While at USC, I was in a sorority. I was part of the engineering student council, and I was part of the American Institute of Chemical Engineers and the Society of Petroleum Engineers. And I went to every home football game for 4 years in a row. So if you have school spirit, you can talk to me. In school, I moved to Houston, Texas, and I work in the oil industry. I presently work at Chevron, and I also went to grad school after USC for a business school program.
Okay, so with that, we'll go to our first question, which is a general question for the three of you. It is, what is the most important thing you learned from your time at USC? So, Krupa, why don't you start this one off?
The most important thing that I learned at USC? Is that the question?
Yes.
I think that it would be collaborating and really creating a strong network for yourself. The administration within the USC program is really strong and really helpful, and they really take student opinions and voices into consideration. And so I think there were a lot of changes during the time that I was at school, and they really kind of listened to our feedback and wanted to improve the programs. And so, I learned how to really make good friends, make good collaborations, and doing group projects and things like that. And that's the most important thing I learned.
Okay, Kelly?
My engineering teachers would hate me for saying this, but the most important thing I learned is time management. And class is important and learning is important, but you want to be able to join clubs. You want to be able to volunteer on the weekend, and you want to be able to make those extracurricular activities a priority in your life. And what's great about USC is you can do all that. I loved that campus was a 5-minute walk from where I lived, so I never felt like I was missing out on any social activities, whether it was a barbecue in the engineering park or if it was hanging out with friends after study group. So I was fortunate that I was able to figure out how do I make it all happen and still do well enough in school. I guess the other thing I forgot to mention is that I was a trustee scholar. So grades were important.
Definitely. What about you, Laura Lee?
I think very similar to what Krupa said. I think it was around teamwork. So up until USC, a lot of your schoolwork had been very individual focused, and at USC, a lot of your work and your grade is going to be based on projects and, to what Krupa said, collaboration. And when you get into the working world, that's also what you're going to find. You'll be on projects with big teams, and you may not always get along with everyone. There might be conflicting interests and goals, but you need to work through that. And so I think that's definitely the most important thing that I learned from USC was teamwork and working together in a project.
Okay, and a similar question, how did your involvement with various clubs and organizations on campus benefit you, whether in your time at USC or in your careers? So Kelly, would you like to start us off?
I think that what the different organizations helped me with was getting that leadership role and getting that opportunity to be sort of in a seat where you were managing and executing and running a project self-sufficiently. It helps you teach a different side of what you were learning in class. So on one hand, we were learning things that were very technical, but it's also important to understand how it all comes together. So whether it was, an organization where you're building for some kind of technical competition, like for I know that there's the Society of, is it ASME that does the car race?
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, you can be in a leadership role in a technical way, but you can also be in a leadership role outside of that where you're just collaborating with people and helping nurture each other and nurture the students.
Great, thank you. Lauralee, what about you?
I think what I would say would be expanding your network. So within your classes, you're with those people for 4 years, and by being in clubs and different societies, whether it's a sorority or student government or even an engineering group, you're just expanding that network, getting to meet different people, different types of people, people that could help you find a job later, or just meeting great friends. And it's just a great way to continue that extracurricular work outside of the classroom.
Okay, we'll go to you, Krupa, and then we have one other person who's joined us, so we'll get to introductions in a minute. So, Krupa, again, the question was, how did your involvements on campus benefit you?
I agree with both Kelly and Lauralee. I guess I didn't mention the things that I was involved in. I was involved in Viterbi Student Ambassadors, which I thought really helped me connect with different individuals from different backgrounds, the different disciplines on the engineering side of the campus. And there were a lot of people within the School of Engineering that also had different minors or double majors and were interested in, like, say, business or architecture or the liberal sciences. So it was really cool to be able to, kind of see where people were taking their degree and what direction they wanted their careers to go in. I was also involved in the lacrosse team, which helped me kind of stay active during my time at USC, because you are in class quite a bit, and as a biomedical engineer, we had a lot of labs for biological sciences and stuff, and so I really learned, being on any sports team, you learn how to be a team member and be a leader. So that was a really fun time for me. So.
Okay, thank you. Krupa, I had no idea. I'm actually on the club lacrosse team here myself right now. So
I read that on your profile.
Oh, well, thank you. So it's great to meet somebody else who's played lacrosse at USC. With that, actually, we have one more alum who's been able to join us, Patty. So if you'd like to, we've already gone through introductions, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, what you majored in at USC, what things you were involved in on campus, and then what you're doing now. Oh, looks like you might have muted your mic there, so that's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen.
There we go.
Yep,
I'm all set. Okay. So hi guys. I'm Patty Shake, formerly Patty Porto, for those who knew me on campus. I've been married since. So I was an electrical engineering major, both for my undergrad and master's at USC. I graduated in 2003 and 2004 as part of the 4+1 program. Which I think I was actually the very first person to graduate of that program, but now it's accelerated to a lot of the engineering majors, where you actually end up getting both your bachelor's and a master's in a 5-year period. So I was on campus. I was very involved. I was also in VSA, in the Viterbi Student Ambassadors. I was involved in Society of Women Engineers, the SWE program, and I was the president for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, also known as SHIP. And what am I doing now? So I worked as an engineer for a couple of years, and then I moved to New York to pursue an MBA. So I've since shifted into the business side of things, and I currently work for a consulting firm called McKinsey & Company, which is a large global consulting firm, and I mostly focus in media and marketing and sales.
Okay, great. So we're just taking questions from students who are joining us for our hangout, and so I'll post the question and then you all can take turns answering. So our next question is about a balance of social life and engineering. So why don't we go back to you, Patricia, on that one. How hard is it to balance the social life when it comes to being an engineering student at USC?
Well, I'd say, it's something that you have to work on. It doesn't come naturally. The advice I'd give for most freshmen is to really, start and focus on your academics your very first semester of freshman year, and then figure out how to, interlace the large social atmosphere of school. The only reason I say that is there's so much going on, and it's so easy to just spend, your very first semester getting into all of the activities, all of the dorm room activities, just the parties and things that are going on. And I think what I did well was kind of take the first semester and really make sure that I focused on my studies. And then after that, it became very easy for me to kind of tone that part, know what I needed to do well in my classes, and then, have plenty of social activities, whether it was just hanging out with friends, going to football games, or, just joining clubs and layering that in. So I'd say you can do it, and I think you should do it, otherwise you're really missing out on a big part of the experience. But just be careful, because I've seen folks who take it too far the other way.
Great. Laura Lee, would you like to add on to that question?
Sure. So what I would say is it's different for every person. Each individual will find their own balance that works for them. Kind of to echo what Patty said, I think there's just so much going on at USC. You can never get involved in everything. There's a club fair your first, I think it's like the first week or two of every semester, and it's a great way to see what's going on campus, and you can find what interests you, and just focus on just a couple priorities. You're going to be there for at least 4 years, so don't overwhelm yourself in those first couple of weeks. There's just a lot of great opportunity at USC, and each person will find a balance that works for them. And like what Kelly said earlier, it's a great learning opportunity for time management when you get into the working world as well.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to another question. This question is the environment at Viterbi, did you find that it was supportive or more cutthroat? So we'll start with Krupa on this one.
I want to answer this one. I absolutely felt that the program and the administration was supportive, like 100%. When I kind of started in the BME program, I didn't really know which way I wanted to take my career and, the options that I would have. And the administration really brought in a bunch of speakers, and the program's really developed over the years to kind of like let us know what opportunities were available to us. And I felt like the classes really opened some great conversation as well amongst colleagues. So absolutely, hands down, it was definitely more support on the supportive side. And I feel like a lot of people have open door policies, just like the chairs of the departments, even the dean of the university. So with any questions or any problems that you have, there's a really great alumni network, and we're always available to talk with students and connect and mentor. I've actually just joined the mentoring community through the Viterbi School of Engineering. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity for connecting with people who are already in the working force. And so I did feel that it was very supportive.
Does anyone have anything else to add on to this question? Okay.
We'll just echo.
Yeah, no, I would agree. It was very, very supportive. And the older students will also help you out in some of the harder classes. They have supplemental instruction where a student that already took that course will lead additional hours that you can go and learn more about that. And people do form study groups outside of that as well. So it was a very supportive environment.
Okay, we have a question specifically for Patty, and it is, it's related to time management. Does the professor's degree program make it harder for you to, have a balance between all of your academics and social life and activities? Is it manageable still, or how does the professor's degree program work?
I would say it's still manageable. I think those friends that know me would say that during my last year, so my 5th year at SC, I had quite a very social life. That said, the classes do get a lot harder. They get more interesting as you go and you've kind of built the building blocks of engineering, and you get to do things in more advanced robotics and sound and music. So I think that, as much as you learn in your first few years how to do the time management, the classes will get harder. So the building blocks of both the engineering side as well as your time management skills get put to the test as you kind of advance through. And I'd say, once you've been at SC for 4 years, that 5th year, you're not on cruise control, but you kind of already know where things are. You've got a network of people, the student ambassadors, and I think that makes that supportive system continues for that extra year.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to our next question, we have a question about the professors at USC. So how are the professors? Are they really involved in the industry outside of USC? Are they really supportive, or how easy is it to connect with your professors? And Kelly, why don't you start us off on this question?
Sure. I guess from my point of view, the professors are very involved with the industry. We have a partnership at USC between USC and Chevron, and my faculty advisor at the time was Dr. Shaggy, and he was the liaison between the two programs. And this is one of the reasons why I ended up working at Chevron after college, because that helped me get my foot in the door. It was a very natural progression to having an internship. And he was up to date on all the cutting-edge technology. He went to all the industry conferences and was very fluent in the changes that were happening. So I would say he was very up to speed. In addition to that, though, our faculty is very down to earth. We had a program at USC where the faculty could take an entire class out to dinner, and you could just relate with them outside of the classroom setting and have that kind of opportunity for a one-on-one discussion just about anything you wanted to talk about, how you're doing in class, and technical topics, but also how you saw your life changing after school, and how they can mentor you through those questions. So it was a very collaborative and very enriching environment.
Okay, does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add on to that question? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. And it's from Wendy, and Wendy would like to know, how does USC prepare you in choosing your major? Are there classes that you took maybe that helped you discover what major you were really interested in, that you maybe came into USC with a different major and ended up switching before graduation?
So I'll chime in on this one. I personally started as an electrical engineer and maintained that throughout, but I was the teacher's assistant for a fantastic class called Engineering 101 that I'm pretty sure still exists. It's been a while since I've been there. But the course is set up specifically for folks who know they want to be an engineer, but don't quite know exactly whether they want to be in computer science, electrical engineering, chemical engineering, biomedical, aeronautical and industrial, all the different types of engineering that exist in SC. And so the course is set up to give a sampling of each of those. And so you do a small robotics project, you do a couple of things related to mechanical engineering, some things related to chemical engineering, and the intention of the course is just to allow you to sample and then make a decision. And again, this would be for freshmen, first year students, so that you can start with the core classes that all engineers will have to take this course, and then kind of start with your core major courses in the following year.
Okay.
I'm just going to add to that, really quickly. I came in as a BME and I stuck with that, but I did have a bunch of friends who took that Engineering 101 class and they loved it.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of wavering on, biomedical, biochemical, or chemical engineering, or if you have no idea but you know that you like the whole mindset of being an engineer, it's an awesome class. They have really fun projects. You get to make really good friends, and it really kind of gives you the outlet to talk to different professors within the different disciplines, and so you can make a really good, educated decision for yourself. So it's a really great class, I think.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to our next question, Lauralee, I'm just going to ask you really quickly if you could lower the volume on your laptop. It looks like we're getting some feedback coming from your end there. So that
Okay, sure. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So with that, we'll go to our next question, which is related to safety. A lot of the girls are interested to know if you felt safe around campus while you were a student here, or if you have any specific tips on that. Okay, so Lauralee, would you like to start with this one?
Sure. So I lived either on or around campus all 4 years, and I did feel safe. What I'll say is you just have to be smart. Now I live in a suburban area. I'm still not going to walk around by myself at 2 in the morning, and I wouldn't do that at USC either. So there's a lot of programs in place to help make sure that you feel safe. There's the Department of Public Safety. There's Campus Cruiser that you can call, and they give you rides within a certain mile radius of campus. There's shuttles, so there were times where you just need to be smart and be conscious of the fact that you are in an urban environment. And not only does that bring great benefits of being, living in one of the biggest cities in the world, but you just need to be smart about it.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we had another hand go up on that one. Kripa, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I would love to. So the Campus Cruiser was awesome. I would call them at all hours of the night, and their system is actually a lot better than the system that we have here in Nebraska. So moving from LA to Omaha, Nebraska, the security at USC is hands down so much better than over here. And I'm actually a security liaison here at UNMC, and I'm trying to echo some of the stuff that we did on the USC campus, because it was just very up to date back in 2006 when I graduated. You get text message alerts, you get text messages like a minute before the Campus Cruiser comes to get you. So it's very automated. I lived off campus, very close. I used to drive a bike or ride a bike, and sometimes take the they have a bus system that takes you around the surrounding area as well, and that runs throughout the entire day. So there were a lot of ways to get to and from campus, especially when the sun goes down, not by riding your bike. You could take the Campus Cruiser, you could drive to campus and things like that. So I felt very safe the whole time I was there. I've gone back to the campus since I've graduated, and it looks so much nicer, and which I thought would be hard to do. The surrounding area is really developed, and I feel looks a lot safer anyway. So I never had any issues at all the whole 4 years that I was there.
Yeah, I'd say the same. And I think one of the things that USC does well that people don't know about is that we have a lot of programs with the community that we reside in. USC is in the middle of a very urban area of Los Angeles. But we do a lot. For many, many years, we've done programs with the community, with the schools in the community, with the small businesses. And I think that's part of what's really helped to create this relationship that we have. So yes, it is, a great, beautiful campus, and yes, we have, gates around it, but most of us lived off campus. Most of us biked to school and took campus cruiser and felt quite safe. But I think a large part of that is just that, the relationship that the school has made in the community that it lives in.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to our next question. And this one is for everyone, and it is, how well did USC prepare you for where you are currently working? So Kelly, we'll start with you, and we'll move on down to everyone.
I think the most important thing was the time spent by the recruiting office at USC, and being able to take workshops on resume writing or being able to have practice interview sessions. There is a lot of time that goes into preparation of just how do you brand yourself and present yourself to potential employers, as well as figuring out what you wanted to do and having the opportunity to meet world-class companies, in one single session on campus at the career fair. So the admissions department works very hard to get those relationships with companies. I know currently I love being able to go back to USC on the other side and to give the interviews and to meet students who are hoping to work for us one day. So it's a lot of fun to go through the process, and it's a lot of fun to give back to the process. But it is something that was offered, but you had to also take the initiative to go for it yourself. They don't require you to practice your interviews. It's an optional thing, but if you put the effort in, it'll pay off.
Great, thank you. Krupa, would you like to continue?
Sure. I mean, just kind of echoing what Kelly said, there are a ton of amazing resources on campus for jobs and resumes and interviewing and campus fairs and things like that. For me, I knew I wanted to go to medical school, and they have a really great pre-med office that really helps you kind of sit down, make sure that you're taking the right classes, make sure that you kind of schedule your MCAT at the appropriate time and things like that. So if you have an idea that you want to go to graduate school, there are people who will sit down with you and kind of work out, when to take your standardized tests for the next step. But I just, look ahead, think ahead, and ask as many questions as you can think of, because the resources are out there and they're available to you. You just have to be smart about, picking and choosing and taking advantage of those resources. So I feel like there's like an overwhelming amount of resources, so you just have to be smart about, going after them and making sure that you create a plan for yourself.
Definitely. Laura Lee?
Sure. So what I'll say is a little different, but I think what at USC that prepared me for working was critical thinking, and kind of going back to the teamwork from earlier. Working together and solving problems has really helped me in the real world, because the education you receive at USC is not just theoretical, but it's very hands-on, very problem-solving, critical thinking oriented. That's helped me to be more collaborative in the working world and solve problems quickly. That's what I think prepared me best for my career.
Thank you. Patricia?
Yeah, so I'd echo. I say it's really two parts. I mean, the first part is exactly what was just said around learning how to think, right? Engineering really teaches you not just the very specifics of one type of engineering, but it's really about how do you break down problems. And that has translated very well into consulting, where we really try to help our clients, and what people value in an engineering background where someone has that on their resume is that you know how to think through problems, you know how to break it apart and know where to start on solving something and doing so quickly. I think the other side is that, I think the relationship that USC has with the companies, especially the ones either in Los Angeles or in California, is very strong. And so I was lucky enough to, get an introduction to IBM as a freshman, and I did a summer internship with them my freshman and sophomore years. And, that really, to me, started me on a path that then really started to build up my resume and build up my own skills of working in the working world. And I think once I was able to get a couple of those down, people see that. And I think it helped me to really build my resume, and every opportunity kind of built off the next one to get me to where I am today.
That is great. Thank you for sharing. The next question is specifically for Krupa, and it's from a student who is interested in biomedical engineering and loves the idea of majoring in biomedical engineering, but also would really like to go to medical school. And so she's wondering, how do you keep that focus on medical school while still being an engineering student at USC? So if you could speak about your experience with that.
Okay. Well, engineering's not easy. It's hard to kind of do the whole engineering and pre-med, but the way that the curriculum is built, I felt that being in the biomedical engineering program, it was helpful. Like, you already have to take the core classes that you would need to take as a pre-med. That being said, I feel that the engineering degree has really helped me now that I'm in medical school and I'm also doing a PhD, because like Patty was saying, engineering really teaches you how to question things and how to answer questions, and you need that when you're out in the real world and you're out in medical school. I mean, there's a lot of memorization, so the foundation that you get from the rigorous engineering curriculum will definitely provide you with the background that you need to excel and succeed in medical school. But going beyond that, when you're practicing medicine, when you're in the clinic, or if you decide to also do a PhD like I'm doing, to really kind of ask the questions that need to be asked and to find solutions in whatever way that you can. So it's difficult, but it's definitely doable, and I feel like it really provided me with kind of an edge when I applied to medical school, because it let me stand out from the rest of the pre-meds who may have majored in biology or the non-traditional, maybe like English or business or something like that. So it definitely gives you an edge and makes you competitive as long as you can handle both and you can excel in both and keep your grades up. So I mean, I had a really good experience with it, and I think that it's contributed to my success.
Okay, thank you, Cooper, for that. This is another question for everybody, and it's related to internship experience. So the girls would like to know, when should you try to get an internship, and if you could also elaborate on the internship experience that you had. I know that Patty, you already started with that, so maybe we can start with Patty and then move through everybody.
Sure. I would say my advice is just the sooner the better. Not everyone does an internship after their freshman year, and not every company offers internships to freshmen. But if you can, find a way to get in front of the companies early on, and a lot of that has to do with your first semester grades. It's only one semester's worth of grades, and you either have a 4.0 or a 2.0 or somewhere in between. But it does matter for these companies that do have internships for freshmen. I'd say the earlier you can start interning, the more you'll be able to leverage that, as I said earlier, to kind of get the second internship when they've seen that you already have an internship and you're looking for another one in sophomore year or junior year. So that's the advice I'd give. That was the path I took. But there are other alternatives to what people do in their summer, so I also don't want to fend people off if there are amazing things that might be the right path for you as well.
Okay, thank you. Laura Lee?
Sure. So I had 2 internships while I was at USC. I had one after the summer of my freshman year. That was a very informal. I just worked with a startup on a new biotech device, and it was a really great exposure to the business world and to working with a startup. I think that was kind of a unique situation. But to what Patty said, though, I mean, it doesn't hurt to put yourself out there and try as early as you can. The worst they can do is say no, and then you go on to the next company. And getting that under your belt will, again, help you get that second internship. So then the summer between my junior and senior year, I interned with Abbott Vascular in their quality engineering department. And it was a great, very formal and structured program where I got to interact with other interns, got to meet great people across the company, and it was great exposure to what it was like to be an engineer in the working world, and it also really helped set me up to my next career. So I would say as early as you can, but there's Like what Patty said, there's alternatives out there. If you want to do research or leadership on campus, that's just a great way to show that you have that skill set.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Kelly next on this question.
I would agree, the sooner the better. One, because most of these internships pay pretty well. You know, it's nice to start feeling like you're taking care of yourself for the first time in your life. But two, the more internship experience you have, the more you learn about yourself and what you really want to do. And it's a lot less risky to try something out for just 3 months than it is to take the full-time job after graduation and then figure out, this isn't really what I love. This isn't really how I want to spend the rest of my career. So if you have a couple of different summers where you can test things out, you might be able to figure that out sooner rather than later. And then you get all those other benefits of earning a salary, of learning something great about your industry, of having some experience to put to your resume so that when you're finally looking for the full-time position, you can prove to them that you have some translatable work experience. So even if it's not an internship, pursuing something that is passionate to you, so either a research on campus over the summer, or doing a study abroad program where you end up pursuing, you know, a sub-major or something that's just really interesting to you. All of those would be personal development opportunities that help you figure out yourself and what you want after graduation.
Okay, thank you. Krupa, would you like to add on to this?
You know, I just echoing what everyone said, I think the earlier the better for sure as well, because with all of the engineering disciplines, there are so many different types of career options, and the earlier you start, the more you can kind of explore those things, you know? I mean, I guess I can only speak for the biomedical engineers, but I mean, you can go to medical school, or you can go into the consulting world, or you can go and work for a medical device company, and many other things. And so taking advantage of the resources and the network that's already established at USC and kind of learning how to build your own network is something that's going to serve you really well throughout your life, because you know, just you're able to connect with people. People change career paths all the time, and I think that USC really kind of helped me develop that network and utilize it. And so the earlier you start, the better. The more you understand what you really want to do with your life and what you're passionate about, and so I say start early.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about undergraduate research. If any of you were involved with undergraduate research, how did you get involved, and then how did it help you in your future careers? So anyone can start with this one.
I had a research assignment for, you know, I think I had one every year, but I had different ones between my freshman and sophomore year and my junior and senior year. And I just approached the faculty, and I realized there was something that I was kind of interested in that I wanted to learn more about. And usually they're pretty excited to get somebody who's passionate and interested on their team. I also had a merit research scholarship, so for the faculty it was risk-free because, you know, there was no opportunity cost for them. But my first year, I worked in a lab setting, you know, mixing chemicals in test tubes. And my second year, I worked in a very theoretical environment through the Chevron USC Center of Integrated Smart Oil Field Research, and used real data from real companies to design technical models that the company then ended up using in their own business. So you can get a lot of different experience, and really kind of like the internship, it goes back to taking the initiative and reaching out and figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah, I'll just add to that because I did a ton of research when I was at USC as well. I started out kind of doing some research with the Doheny Eye Institute because I was really interested in the retinal prosthesis project that they had going on, which was very hot back when I was in school. And then I kind of turned that into directed research, which I'm pretty sure is still available at USC. You could take like a directed research course. So you have protected time. You enroll in credit, but you have protected time to spend specific hours in the research lab. And then you get a grade for your efforts as well, which I thought was really wonderful. It's really been a topic of conversation during my graduate school application period, and there's a lot of different research available on campus that engineers can fit into. So I just really encourage you to keep an open mind about the research opportunities. There's basic science research, there's engineering research, there's also a lot of policy research going on campus. We have a ton of graduate programs and laboratories on campus. So find something that you're passionate about and reach out to the professors, because undergrads are kind of like free labor. So, I mean, if you start out as free labor and you work your way up the chain and you really start contributing, you can take the class for credit, or maybe even get kind of like a summer internship opportunity where they might pay you off of a grant. But it's really helped me, especially, I mean, I'm doing my PhD right now, but to kind of hone in on what I'm really interested, what area of science really interests me and fascinates me. So I would recommend just kind of exploring the different research options on campus.
Definitely, both as Kelly and Krupa mentioned, there are a number of ways you can be involved in research. I was also Merit Research my freshman and sophomore year, and I did research in renewable energies. So there are so many opportunities at USC. It's just about talking to your professors and finding which projects you're interested in, and you'll definitely find something that you can work on as early as freshman year. So with that, we have one more question, which is related to working while going to school, so during the year. Did any of you have co-ops or internships that you did during the year, and how did that work with your academic schedule?
So I'll start. I didn't have an internship, like a business internship during the school year. I did work. I worked on campus. This was more just to make money to help pay my rent and my expenses. And one of the jobs that I had for a couple of years was to serve as an engineering tutor. So there's an engineering tutoring program that's very specific for engineers, where the tutors are engineering students who've already taken the course. And I found that this was such a great way for me to make a couple bucks on the side, but really just relearn a lot of the basics. So, tutoring around calculus, tutoring around engineering 101 or electrical engineering 101, it just reinforced everything I had learned and actually made me better in my more senior classes.
Okay, thank you, Patty. We have several more questions that we hope to get through before our broadcast ends at 8, so we'll move on. We'll go a little bit later since we weren't able to start directly at 7. But our next question is, how easy is it to find jobs both inside and outside of California after graduation? Since USC is based in Southern California and a lot of the job opportunities are in the area, how easy is it to get jobs in California and also in the rest of the United States?
I can go ahead and take that one first.
Okay.
So at the career fairs, a lot of the companies are national or international based companies. So it's possible to get your job offer, talk to them in LA, but then get your job offer somewhere else if they're a national or international company. So I interviewed with Accenture in LA and then was able to get my offer out of the San Francisco office. And I know a lot of people that did very similar things and were able to move all across the country or even internationally. So a lot of the companies that come to the career fairs and come to recruit on campus, it might be the local offices or local chapters, but a lot of national companies still come and recruit.
The other thing I'd add to that, I do think the network is really, really strong if you want a job in LA or in California. But I also say that, we have chapters, alumni chapters, all over the world. So not just in other cities in the U.S., but really strong chapter in Hong Kong, for example. So if you're looking for international jobs, you can reach out to those alumni very easily. And I'm now part of the alumni chapter here in New York. It's not, engineering specific, but it's just Trojans, right? And once you're a Trojan, you graduate, you're a Trojan for life, and you generally are, out there to help anyone who needs help. So I've met a lot of folks who have graduated SC, have moved to New York, and have just reached out blindly and said, hey, I'm a Trojan, and I need to get to know New York or get to know opportunities there. And I've met a lot of people that way.
That's actually a perfect way to continue on to our next question. Thank you for that, Patty. And it's related to the Trojan family and the alumni network. So have any of the three of you had any experiences where the Trojan Family Alumni Network has benefited you, whether it's socially or professionally? So Kelly, would you like to start with this one?
Sure. I moved to Houston for my first job after college, and the Trojan family was actually an important part of my transition here, because when I moved, I didn't know a single person who lived in Houston. And it was great to have an instant opportunity to meet people, to watch football games with, to learn common linkages. I actually realized that there were people at my same company who went to USC, but were a few years older than me, so I never met them when I was on campus. And it helped make a big city a lot smaller and a lot more like home. And I'm still here, still go to those football watches every week in the fall, and it really helped with my transition moving to a new city when I didn't have any connections there.
Great, thank you. Krupa or Laura, do you have any experience as well that you'd like to add on?
I mean, socially, I run into people wearing the USC Trojan gear all the time. I mean, I rock my USC hat on many days when I'm going to class in school. But, the Trojan network is really strong. I mean, I've met people wearing USC gear on the New York City subway, which is where my family's from, and you just get into random conversations about football games and what you majored in, and sometimes you run into people who graduated the same year as you, but you didn't necessarily know because they were in a different school or program. So I've gone to some social events in New York City where it was put on by like the USC Trojan Network, and they have there's like some bar in New York City where everyone kind of hangs out to watch football games in the fall. So that's quite fun. I mean, the network is super strong and everyone's really friendly. I think when you see a familiar face or the USC logo, it just kind of brings you back to those days. So I miss them.
But you'll have to let me know when you're in New York next.
I definitely will.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next question, which is about housing at USC. I'd just like to add really quickly that we do have a housing video on our website, viterbivoices.usc.edu, where we've stepped into some of the dorms of some of the engineers at USC all over campus to give you an idea of what they look like and ask them about what their housing experience has been. But I'd like to ask our alums here, is there actually like an engineering dorm, or where did you live, and was that conducive towards your studying and also your social life? So Laura Lee, why don't we start with you on this one?
Sure. So my freshman year, I lived in the dorms on campus, which I highly recommend. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And I was not in any type of affiliated dorm. It was just a general freshman dorm. I had a great roommate, so I did find that it was conducive to studying in my dorm room, though I would also go to the library, which is right next door, or there's some classrooms that are open late at night, and we form our own study groups in the classroom. My sophomore year, I lived off campus in a USC-owned apartment, and that was very convenient to get to campus, safe and easy to study. My junior year, I lived in my sorority house, which was a little more distracting to study, so I did find myself going to the library a lot more that year. And then senior year, I was in an apartment again.
Okay, Krupa, would you like to go next?
Sure. I lived on campus in a dorm my first year or two, and I mean, I highly recommend it. It kind of helps you create your social network. I did not live in an engineering-only housing, which I would recommend. I think, it's important to make friends outside of the School of Engineering. The engineering school has a lot of great social activities that they put on, so you'll undoubtedly make friends within the engineering school from different disciplines, but I created really great friendships with people on my floor that I still keep in touch with till this day. And I moved off campus my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and I lived with a bunch of people that I met in my freshman year dorm. So that was really great. It's a great way to make friends, and I studied a lot at the library, and since I've been at USC, I think they've built a beautiful new facility which has a great study rooms. So I think that the availability of great study locations, I don't think is a problem at USC. They have some beautiful libraries and some great study rooms. So,
yeah. Thank you, Krupa. There are definitely lots of great places to study around campus if you don't find that your dorm is the most conducive. There isn't actually a women in engineering or engineering-specific dorm. There are some special interest communities that students can live in, but it's a lot of people who are part of that major, but also reaching out to the community relating to science and engineering. So again, I would encourage you to check out the housing video on our website for more information about that, or also the USC Housing general website also has great information. Our next question is, was the culture at USC in general more academic or more social, and how was that balanced? So Kelly, would you like to start us off on this question?
It was definitely a mix, and I think that one of the benefits of USC is that you have the big school, small school feel at the same time. You've got the small technical school of engineering where you can get really focused on your studies and get really focused on research, and then you have the rest of campus where you can get involved in student leadership organizations, or you can get into volunteering organizations, and you have that outlet of any school with as many students as we have. So it's the perfect balance of both, I would say.
Thank you. Patty, would you like to add on to that?
Yeah, Kelly said it really well. That is what I loved about USC, is that, you can be an engineer, you can have really challenging classes and have really smart, students and colleagues with you and kind of get your nerd on. But at the same time, you're part of this huge university. It's got a great, sports program, which I know doesn't matter to everyone, but for those people,
it matters.
It does matter.
It matters.
It's a fantastic outlet to, go rock out on a Saturday morning and hang out with your friends at a tailgate and go to a game. But all the other things that Kelly mentioned around, leadership, community service opportunities, all of that is there. And I think, if I'd make the decision again, I would definitely choose USC. And I think that what I took away from it was not only everything I learned in my classes and, being able to be ready for a great career, but at the same time, just great friends and a lot of fun.
Relating to the social scene at USC, one of our students would like to know how prominent Greek life is in Viterbi and campus in general, and is there enough to do socially outside of Greek life? So, Laura Lee, we'll start with you on that one.
Sure. So I was in a sorority, but I did not join until my sophomore year. So that allowed me to still expand my network within engineering, within the individuals in my dorm outside of Greek life, and then I still made that decision sophomore year that I did feel like that was something that I wanted. It's not an overwhelming percentage of USC community that does go Greek. I had a wonderful experience in it. My brother was in a fraternity at USC as well and had a great experience. But a lot of my friends were also not Greek and still had, very active social lives. So it's a personal preference. And I would say that, it's something that you can pursue when you get there. Ration recruitment is a good process just to see what may interest you, and that option is always there to join later. You don't have to join your freshman year.
Okay, thank you, Laura Lee. Is there anybody who would like to offer from a non-sorority perspective on that question?
I guess I will. Patty, I don't know if you were in a sorority, but I was not in a sorority. I don't even think I ever considered it really. I guess I had a lot of friends who were involved in Greek life and they loved it and had a wonderful time, but I had a really great time at USC, and I made a lot of friends that I still keep in touch with. And there was definitely lots to do in LA. There is not a shortage of activities. or fun to have in LA. You can, you know, go out in Hollywood or Santa Monica. There's some really great places to travel to within driving distance of the university. The football games is definitely a huge part of the culture, but I don't think that it's overwhelming. You know, I mean, you don't have to go to the games, but it just kind of contributes to the culture on campus on Saturdays or on game days. And so I wasn't a part of Greek life, and I still feel like I had a ton of fun, and so it's not necessary, I don't think. But if it's something that you want to explore, definitely do the rush week or whatever they call it. I don't even really know about what it's called, but
yeah. And even if you aren't a Greek, you will have friends who are, and you can partake in some of the activities, not all of them. So I think I was not Greek, but you know, definitely found myself going to certain events on Frat Row.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives on that question. We're getting close to the end of our live chat here, so we'll only take a few more questions. One of the questions is, how engaged are students in their classes? Are people really motivated to work hard in them in the classes, or are they not as involved or engaged? Kelly, would you like to start us off?
I mean, it's engineering, right? You have to be engaged to do well. If you're not engaged, you're going to figure it out pretty quickly, and then you might realize that engineering's not for you. So it's a tough program. They're going to throw you through some ropes. It's not something that you can't handle, but if you don't go to class, maybe it's something that you want to reconsider. I mean, you had to study, you had to do your homework, but I don't think any of that is asking for too much.
I think students, like during the time when I was there, I felt that they were super engaged. I mean, being at USC during the years that I was there really taught me about teamwork and collaborating to get projects done and group homework assignments and things like that. And it's a lot of the classes require collaboration. And so I felt that the students were very engaged and motivated to participate. And there was a group, I feel like the group was pretty small, where we all became really good friends. So we kind of worked together and helped each other kind of get through the classes and get through the program, which made it more fun.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll ask our last two questions. So, two-part question. Why did you pick USC, and what advice do you have for future women in engineering? So for that one, let's start with Patty.
Okay, so why did I pick USC? You know, I went to visit the campus and got lost looking for financial aid, and just had one of these magical experiences where it all just clicked. You know, I'd been very stressed about which school to pick, and I remember that day just looking around at the students on campus, and I don't know, it just felt right. So I can't really give you know, here's the list of why. I can now say so glad I did for all these reasons, but it was just a feeling I had. I think the advice for women engineers, you know, Kelly mentioned it, you need to be engaged. It is a tough curriculum, but it's not something you can't handle. So my advice would be, you know, if you're interested in engineering, go for it. It pays off, you know, tenfold. We do not have enough engineers in the U.S., and I work now with the businesses who are struggling to find the talent locally and be able to, you know, hire people fast enough for all of the jobs that they're going to need going forward. So engineering is a fantastic place to be, specifically computer science, if any of you are interested in that, where we just don't have enough people. And so if it is something that interests you, where you have a passion, go for it. And, you know, be engaged. So it's not something you can't handle, but you do need to be engaged, and you do need to kind of put in the commitment to do it.
Thank you, Patty. Laura Lee?
So why I chose USC, it's a funny story actually. So my older brother went to USC, and I was really mad at him that he stole the perfect university because I wanted to go there and didn't want to have to share with him. But then realized it's a big enough school that we could each have our own space. For me, kind of like Patty, it was a feeling when I came to visit. It's such a beautiful campus, and when I walked into the engineering school, they knew me by name, which was amazing, and just shows you that it's very personal, you're not a number at USC, but you're an individual. They care about how you're going to perform at USC. They want you to succeed and do well. So to me, it was just, I just felt a personal connection when I came there that I didn't feel anywhere else. And my advice for future women, I don't think it's specific to women in engineering, but would be just to take advantage of all of the great opportunities that USC has to offer, both within the engineering school, as well as being in LA, being at a great institution like USC with football games and the Trojan Network. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Just take advantage of everything that it has to offer.
Thank you, Laura Lee. What about you, Krupa?
So I moved cross country from New Jersey to go to USC, and it was a little scary, but I'm not necessarily sure I had this like magical feeling, but I was ranking 2 top 10 engineering programs, and I knew that I wanted to do biomedical engineering, and I kind of just, you know, started looking past the rank of the program. You know, what else does the school offer me? What kind of resources are available? And like Laura Lee said, I wasn't just a number. The school really invests itself in all of the people that they accept, and they're really invested in your growth and development, and they want you to attain your highest potential. And I really felt that throughout my years at USC. You know, when I was questioning whether I wanted to go to medical school or what I wanted to do with my degree, there were so many people there to help me kind of figure it out and provide me with the resources that I needed. So although it is a huge school, I mean, the engineering school is very close-knit and very invested in you as a person and as a, you know, a working young professional. For my advice for women in engineering, obviously now I'm going into medicine, but, you know, kind of along the lines of what my colleague said, you know, take advantage of the resources that are available to you. There are abundant resources at USC, and kind of just make sure that you create that network for yourself. You know, USC is a wonderful place to make friends, lifetime friends, and colleagues that you will be in touch with again in your future. And so, you know, kind of use your ambition that's probably what got you into the engineering program to kind of just help maintain that network as you move forward.
Okay, thank you, Krupa. Last one, Kelly.
So I picked USC kind of on accident. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I basically applied to every school that was in California. Finally went to visit USC and just fell in love with the campus. I loved meeting the people. I loved seeing how involved the students were, and I realized that it was the community that I really wanted to be a part of. And I'm so glad I did. It changed my life, and I have lifelong friends from being there, and it's one of the greatest experiences that I've had. In terms of my future advice, it would be to think about your 5-year plan, but also think about your 10-year plan and your 20-year plan. Patty mentioned that there are a ton of companies trying to hire female engineers right now. Those same companies want to put women in leadership roles across their organization. And for a woman who can handle engineering and can hang and can tackle the work, there is so much career opportunity to be successful and to be the future leaders in countries or in organizations across our country. And so, you know, USC is a great place to cultivate that leadership.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Kelly. With that, we'll be ending our live chat for this evening. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me for this and for helping us to answer all of the questions from our admitted female engineers for Viterbi. So with that, I would like to bring in Paul Ledesma, our Director of Undergraduate Admission. Oh, Paul, I think your mic.
Oh, there we go. Now my mic's connected. How's everybody doing?
Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to jump in here. Natalie was so gracious to let me in, and first say thank you, Patty, thank you, Laura Lee, thank you, Krupa, thank you, Kelly, for jumping in and doing this for all of our admitted female engineering students out there. They have an incredible choice to make in the next couple weeks, and we're desperate. We want them here, and I think I was listening to the entire live chat, and I just loved everything you had to say, and it's just really impressive to see what you have done since your time at USC. I mean, we all knew that you were all going to be successful when you're at USC, but to see what you're doing now is just incredible. So sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for participating in this. Also, Natalie, thank you so much for putting this all together and to organizing this event for all of our admitted female students. I think that this is going to be a very helpful event. And to add my final 2 cents to all of this for all of you young women out there that are trying to make this choice, I hope you paid attention and listened to your predecessors here that have done some amazing things. It's a tough choice. We want to help you make that as much as possible. And so if you haven't done so already, you should check out our website, viterbi.usc.edu/admit2013. That's viterbi.usc.edu/admit2013. We have a lot of different events going on. I hope that you're going to be able to join us for either Explore USC or Preview USC, or we'll also be going around the country and visiting on different weekends. So again, thank you very much. And this is, of course, in addition to all the great content that Natalie and her peers are putting together at viterbivoices.usc.edu. So again, thanks so much. I just wanted to jump in. I apologize I'm taking up too much time, but you ladies were great. It's great to see you guys, and I know it's late, and especially Patty, you're all in New York. So you guys.
Yeah, it's like 11.
It's past my bedtime.
Way past, yeah, way past. Yeah, I had to wake up from a nap to do this myself. So anyway, thanks so much. Natalie, I'll let you sign off.
Okay, thank you everybody again for joining us. If you have any other questions that you can think of, feel free to email us at viterbi.students@usc.edu. With that, fight on everybody.
But,
Thanks, Natalie.